What's up? I have like 30 minutes to kill because I have to charge the car. But I just wanted to talk about the recent events, specifically Bitcoin, right? The recent drop on Monday or even Sunday night. Um, I just think that like I don't like where this is, like what this is signaling, specifically not even for Bitcoin prices or for crypto, but specifically for global security, right? I've been a Bitcoin bear, or I've been like crypto bear. I just don't see the real use of it, right? But I think this kind of solidifies my beliefs, just because what I think it might be happening is I think that Iran might be using Bitcoin. They might be selling their Bitcoin stash in order to get the funds to buy services or buy the necessary inventory for war, right? I think what might have happened was, Iran actually preliminarily, or at first they thought that at first they basically told everyone that they were going to attack by Monday. I think what happened was they sold Bitcoin, right? But they didn't expect Bitcoin to drop that much in price after selling. So then I think what happened was they're probably delaying it for Bitcoin to do a little pop back up, and then going to sell it again, right? And then once they accumulate enough actual currency that like companies like Raytheon or other service providers, once they accumulate enough funds to buy those things, then they'll stop selling. So I think this kind of like I've always been a big, like, I've not always, but like recently I've been a Bitcoin bear. I don't have any positions on Bitcoin. I just have like $1 that I got from Robinhood for doing their course or something like that. But like this is what happens when you have like smaller countries, right? Not like not G7, not G20 or whatever, right? Like when you have like smaller countries, not necessarily Iran, but even like the small countries that like you don't know the names of, that even I don't know the names of, right? When they're adapting Bitcoin to be like their national currency or whatever, like you have to think about, people say people keep saying, oh, Bitcoin is like a national, or is a risk off asset, right? But which countries are the most risky? It's going to be these smaller countries that basically they need liquidity and they don't have it. So if they're switching to Bitcoin, the moment they need the liquidity, the moment they need to buy something, well, that just adds a lot of selling pressure on Bitcoin, right? Like, I mean, I could totally be wrong. I don't know. It's just like people say the good thing about Bitcoin is decentralization, which I mean, like, yeah, decentralization does have its have its benefits, but you also have to think about, like, it's kind of like why the founding fathers, why they didn't want to have a popular vote. It's because they didn't trust the masses to be reasonably smart, right? Like, think about, like, basically what happened in the in the founding fathers, right? It's like, you think, what is the IQ of the average American, right? Now 50% of America is stupider than that, right? So like that kind of like helps illustrate, like, you don't, sometimes decentralization isn't that good, right? Especially when you have like basically think about like what happens in like stock markets all the time, right? People that want to be traders, and then like they let their emotions dictate their every move. Oh no, it dropped by 10 cents, oh, I better sell. Oh no, it dropped by, oh no, oh shoot, it rose by $1, I better buy, right? Like, you have people that are buying the top, selling the dip, right? So it's like, it's, when you have decentralization, you have like basically your entire your commodity, right, which is Bitcoin, right? The value of your commodity is dictated by the masses, which is not what we want, right? That's not a good idea. Right? Right? And also, like, there's no real fundamental to Bitcoin, right? The only fundamentals to Bitcoin are the technical analysis, right? It's like, oh, it hit this Fibonacci number. Oh, it hit this, I don't know, the 200-day moving average. Those are the only real fundamentals. Like, it's super adaptable. There's no real, like, if Bitcoin were a company, right? There's no moat to why you choose Bitcoin versus anything else, right? I could easily just create a new Bitcoin that has the same exact qualities and characteristics as Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, it won't be as popular, right? But like, it's doable, right? There's so many of them already. So I don't know. I just think that, like, especially with all the current events, there's I think that Bitcoin might be a signal for problems that might occur soon within the Middle East. Like, I don't know. Maybe I can just go over some of my thoughts on Bitcoin and like some of the bear cases I have for it, right? So, the first one, right? I already talked about how like you have the smaller countries that are basically adapting Bitcoin, right? And like think about the bigger countries, they don't want to have the smaller countries win, right? They don't want to give them a leg up, so like they're gonna do their best to squash their competitors, right? It's the same thing as having a moat, right? It's almost like it's similar to like a price war, right? When you have a big country and a small country, or a big company and a small company, right? If the small company is doing something that might give it an edge, this big company is going to do whatever it can to remove that edge, right? To squash the competition. It's the same thing. Instead of comparing companies and their moats, you're comparing currencies, right? Maybe like, I don't know, America will do something that will basically give like the American dollar a moat, right? That could be like treasury bonds, like something like that, increasing rates, decreasing rates, something like that, right? And talking about America, I think I saw somewhere that America has 13 billion in Bitcoin. So this is twofold, right? America has 13. I think from what I saw like recently, America has 13 billion in dollars in Bitcoin. Sorry, not 13 billion Bitcoin. $13, 13 $13 billion in Bitcoin, right? And think about. So Harris was given the opportunity to talk at the crypto conference, right? This past week or 2 weeks ago, I think. It might have been this past week. I'm not sure. And they refused, right? If Harris, if they wanted to, right? If the current administration wanted to, oh, okay. Well, why don't we just sell like a bunch of Bitcoin, decrease the price of Bitcoin, right? That way, it makes it look like Trump and all the people that went to this Bitcoin rally, but went to this Bitcoin conference, they look like charlatans now, because they basically promoted a product that just dropped in price and like ruined the lives of so many people, right? They could easily do that with $13 billion in Bitcoin. So like that's the thing, right? Just the political drama of it. Like I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about like what side of it I think is better or worse, right? I just think that this is a possibility of what might happen with the current standing, right? Whatever it takes to get an edge. Like secondly, when people say Bitcoin is a risk-off asset, did you not see 2 days ago? Bitcoin is not risk-off. Bitcoin is not risk. How many times do I have to say this? Bitcoin is not risk-off. Okay? Like like I don't do I have to explain it? You it's not a risk-off, right? We were like, "Oh, but it's a digital gold." Do you know what just happened to your digital gold? It dropped by like 10K, 19K in the past, I think, month or two weeks or something like that. Like, no, stop saying that. My goodness. Anyway, like I'd say like when it's completely speculative, right? Like you can't. There's no inherent value that Bitcoin has. It can't be used for anything, right? Like. You can at least gold can be used for something, right? It's gold in my opinion is a commodity, and I don't think it should be, but whatever. It's like it can at least be used for something, right? So I can see how gold might be risk off, right? I can see how like I don't know, treasury bonds are risk off, right? Because it has inherent value and you have a promised gain, right? There's no real risk to it, right? But in that case, I think that even Apple is a better risk off asset. Like buying Apple even after the drop is a better risk off asset than buying Bitcoin. And then people say, "Oh, it's an inflation hedge or whatever," right? And they're comparing it to the dollar. But like a dollar back then, or like let's say $100,000 was able to buy you however much property in Miami back then, and now it can only buy you whatever else, like however much property now in 2020, right? 2024. You have to. It's called a currency. The word current is in it, right? People have to realize the point in dollars, the point in money isn't to hold it, right? That's why the Fed is like their baseline is to have 2% inflation, right? It's not to have 0% inflation. It's to have 2% inflation, right? The point in currency is to have a common, not a commodity, but like a common form of payment and of transaction, so that you can buy the goods that you actually want, right? It's better than a barter system where it's like, I'll trade you my 5 pears for your 3 eggs, right? It's not, like, rather than doing that, you sell your 5 pears for however much money, and then you use that money to buy the eggs that this person is offering, right? It's just a common commodity that is there to have a common, like, a base unit of measurement for every transaction. So I don't really, so kind of this idea that of inflation hedge, it doesn't really matter, right? The point in currency isn't to store value, it's to maintain a current value that you can use to transact, if that makes sense. I might be kind of butchering the explanation just because I'm my English no good. But yeah, so like when people say it's an inflation hedge, I also don't believe it. People say it's like, oh, it's indestructible or whatever, right? Yeah, sure, it's indestructible. As much as like I could say, okay, I'm gonna get all this water, right? I'm gonna put this in an airtight, completely sealed box, and then I will tokenize every single water atom in here, right? And I will never open the box. I will never touch it. I just created your next Bitcoin. Like, no, like honestly, like people don't even know who created Bitcoin, right? You don't, the Satoshi, whatever his name is, right? Like, we don't even know he's alive. Like, how can you trust that? How can you, people, what? And then like you also have to account for the fact that it's like there's a bunch of fees and a bunch of like every transaction there's like they skim some percentage off the top of your, or like some base amount off the top, right? You can't, like, why would you do that rather than why wouldn't you just use cash then at that point, right? Like, I mean, yeah, you can, like, yeah, there's taxes, but I mean Bitcoin's going to be taxed too, right? Think about it, like it's already connected to your SSN. And some people are saying like, oh well like criminals use what's it called, Bitcoin. But they won't use it anymore because it's connected. Like basically you have to connect it to your SSN. Like all the countries that are, like all the bigger countries, right, the G7, the G20 or whatever, right, they're going to connect it to some type of personally identifiable number, some type of personally identifiable like data, right? And even then like all the scammers and all the dupes, right, they're not going to use Bitcoin anymore. They'll switch back to cash, because cash is inherently untraceable, right? Untraceable, right? That's why you have all the cheap Chinese restaurants taking cash only, right? Like, I don't see any use case for Bitcoin other than just scamming people at this point. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, right? Like, I'm totally open to anyone giving any like opinions, any arguments, but like just think about it, right? Like, I'm gonna post this, right? I'm gonna have Bitcoin in the title, and watch, there's gonna be some scam comment in the comments. There's gonna be some scammer in the comments, maybe like, oh, thanks for sending me 0.2 Bitcoin, or after I sent you 0.1, I'll do it again. Send it. Thanks for if anyone else is whatever. Don't listen to that stuff, right? Like why would you use the currency, or why would you invest in something that's only used by scammers, only used by just crooks, right? It's almost like, it's like trusting your friend who always gossips. Would you do that? Would you, like, they gossip, right? Like, chances are, if they're gonna gossip on and all this stuff, right, gonna gossip, talk smack, right, behind someone else's back, they're doing it about you behind your back, right? It's the same thing. So I don't know, those are just my thoughts. I am kind of worried, just like the timing of things, right? Of how, one, Bitcoin dropped dramatically, right? Then two, Iran delayed the counterattack on Israel, and I think that might be spelling something coming up soon. In my opinion, I think there's only gonna be like 100, like maybe like 10 views actually on this video, so it doesn't matter. I'll give you my edge. I think what might happen would be, if we see another drop, wait for like a day or two, and then I think that will give enough time for whatever Iran wants to do to mobilize and start attacking, right? Like, if they're waiting this long, and like the fact that Bitcoin dropped that much, 19K in a week, so I'm assuming like maybe they caused like maybe at least like 70K, and then there's like residual other stuff, right? I think like the attack might actually be significant, but like, just fingers crossed it isn't, right? You could be short the market all you want, right? But like, it doesn't matter if like the world's in shambles, right? So just fingers crossed. Nothing too bad will happen. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on the current, like, I guess, global crisis, not crisis, global scenario, global setting, and also just my thoughts on Bitcoin. I don't know. I can never I just can't bring myself to trust Bitcoin, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts. Have a good one.